right, Charlie Ragle joins us live here at the Tempe Twin Peaks.
Long overdue.
Yeah, definitely. We're here like once a month.
I had to coax him, Rock.
Yeah.
I had to coax him.
Did you have to put it in your GPS, or did you have an idea how to get here?
I don't have a self-driving car, but it actually drove itself here. I'm calling Elon Musk after this because
yeah, that's funny.
Something may be afoot. I don't know.
So, what are you guys doing tomorrow? You gonna watch a game, or what,
the next 2 days, right?
Yeah. So do you guys have something planned for the team, or is the team on their own?
No, not really. We're gonna practice tomorrow.
Okay.
We've been going day on, day off. So Monday practice, Tuesday run and lift, Wednesday practice, Thursday today run and lift. We'll practice tomorrow. They'll get a Saturday off, and so.
Do the guys tend, because you talked about this team, that they are a tight group, they're a fun group, they like being around each other. Do you expect a bunch of guys all going to go watch the game somewhere? Or?
Yeah, this is a group that spends a lot of time together.
Yeah.
They really do. And, we had the O-line out eating last night, killing bourbon and bones. So, this is a group, though, that would do something like that for sure. Yeah.
Charlie, are you afraid at all that they'll get bored because they're doing the same process day after day? Is that a factor for the coaches? Or too much time on their hands?
Yeah, I think it's a combination, right? When you have this amount of time off between games, I think that's always a concern when you're going week after week after week playing, and but I think we've put together a really good plan of, just as I mentioned, on off. We gave them some time off last week to go home. I thought Kenny did a real nice job with the leadership council and talking to them about how they wanted to structure the time off. And, because obviously we'll find out Saturday who we play, right? And then obviously we'll go into an actual game planning mode for that specific team. Well, then, so what is that? The 22nd, we practice the 23rd and 24th before Christmas. So these guys were like, no, we want to be here. We don't want the time off around Christmas. We'll take it on the front end so we can get those practices before, Christmas, because we know who we're going to play and we can, specialize in the game plan. So I think that tells a lot about these guys' mentality and where their focus is at.
They're chomping at the bit.
They're excited to play. They're excited to play this game. And I think that just like the whole season, people have laughed at us, written us off before we got started. We get to a certain record in the middle of the season, and they say, who have they played? The non-conference schedule was terrible. And then we get to conference, and then the conference Kansas isn't any good, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't until we went to Manhattan. Sorry.
All right. No, bring it. No,
sorry. But sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
But it was when we went there, honestly, that kind of opened people's eyes. And it was like, oh, these guys might be for real. And then, we proceeded to knock out everybody else on the schedule the rest of the way. I actually think it probably started for us internally at Oklahoma State. That, to me, and I told Kenny that at halftime, was a big test for us because of the period of wait, with the storm and all of that. And could these guys, and I told him, it's not the team that wins this won't be the most talented team. It'll be the team who's regains their focus and comes out with an innate ability to go finish.
And Charlie, the K-State game, even myself, my Cats, they're playing pretty good. I think what it proved to a lot of people is you guys could go in, you could handle the moment and not blink. Yeah. And that was, I'm like, damn. And even I went, okay, this team is damn good. To go into Manhattan, Kansas, in that environment, and to do what you guys, punch them in the mouth early and often. Even I went, okay, there's something special going on here. Now, could you maintain that, finish the year?
No doubt. And I told you, I think that was one of the best environments that I've probably been in. Not probably, that I've been in my college career, my career period, But we were able to keep the fans out of it. They obviously, how it is. Sure. It's neat. And but we found ways to win too that were different than our typical ways of running the football, right? We ran it okay, but we didn't run it as good as we ran it in other games. And that's where, to me, kind of Jordan Tyson took that next step and elevated him, and Sam kind of elevated the throw game. And Coach Kleiman, I think, even mentioned after the game about how that's one of the, if not the best.
Your tight end involvement, that play, that screenplay.
Yes.
The creativity that you guys drew up and had there on the road and not be afraid to use it.
Yeah.
That's what impressed me.
No.
Not being afraid to go in.
And Shamon's been a real big piece of this thing, and he is a super, super talented young man, and he's only going to get better. So, we're in a good spot. It just, again, when you have this much time off, it's how do you manage it, and we'll be ready to play, though, in the Peach Bowl. That I'm sure.
You guys faced a lot of adversity. You played against a Central Florida team that pushed you guys right to the brink. BYU did the same thing. So you have been in struggles. So now with either Clemson or Texas, in the coach's mind, being in those struggles and able to overcome at the end of each game, do you feel very, very confident in your team? If it is a close game, they would find a way to win.
Well, I think winning begets winning. And, when you're building a program, when I went to Idaho State and we're trying to build the program there, it's like, okay, well, we have to play these 2 money games, right, against Division I programs. And then our non-conference, our third non-conference game is against a quality FCS opponent. When, as I said to the athletic director, when do our kids learn how to win? All these things that you teach and you push and you press them and you strain them, when do they reap the rewards of that? If you're constantly getting hit in the face, how do you learn how to win? Somewhere you got to break through. And I think to bring that back full circle is we started winning early on in the season. But then as we got to Texas State, we're down. We don't play very well on the road. That was our first road game, hot, etc. But we find a way. And I think I said this to you guys on the show the next week. There was, compared to a year ago, there was no bickering, moaning, and griping at each other. It was just they guys found a way to win at Texas State. And that's when the first time it caught my eye, like, oh, we got a team that really, is trying to figure this out. And so the fact that we've won so many close games, I think, is a testament to our football team, that it shows in the face of adversity, we won't flinch. And if you have a team like that, you've got to be confident going into big games and close games that you're going to find a way to pull it out.
Coach Charlie Ragle joining us here on Rocket Manooch with Jimmy B. Curious, you went back to the guys are going to practice on Monday and Tuesday, Christmas falling on Wednesday. This being so unique, it's not like you're at a bowl where you're celebrating the holiday and there's things for these kids to do. What if can a kid go home?
So we're going to practice the 23rd.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and practice the 24th. We'll be basically done around, call it noon, let's just say for safety, noon. And then they're off the back half of the 24th. We're off Christmas Day, and we don't reconvene until 6 o'clock on the 26th.
Okay.
So they could go on a flight.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
And some of them will.
Okay.
And a bunch of them have already gone home. So that'll be their call. But, yes, they can do that. And, again, I think a bunch of them will, but they wanted the schedule set like this so that we could get Saturday. We were going to find out who we play Sunday, do the prep work, give them some game plan stuff Monday and Tuesday as we get ready to roll.
Real quick, I know you got a question too, but are you limited on how many practices you can have this time of year with this new playoff?
It's a great. Typically, you get 15 in a bowl. I don't know that you're in the playoff necessarily. That's honestly, I don't even. That's a good question.
Just wondering.
Yeah,
you guys
as long as if you win,
say that again.
Keep going.
What did you say?
That's a really good question.
Gotta get one a day.
The reason why we're taping it's very rare.
Yeah. All right. That's why my name is on the marquee. Rocket Manooch with Jimmy B.
That's correct.
Oh.
No, but I was interested because I know being a bowl guy, Fiesta Bowl guy myself, I know they're limited on how many practices they can have, and they're always playing around, Christmas and all that good stuff. Either
and what constitutes a practice?
Yeah,
that too. But I think that obviously it's still 15 practices in a standard bowl. When you get to the playoffs, I would assume there's no limit.
And is this a business trip?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like this is, we're going up there to win a football game and go to the next round.
My question is about the team itself, about your players. When you're around them and you don't know yet who you're going to play, Clemson or Texas, do the players discuss amongst themselves with the coaches being around? Yeah, I'd really like to play Clemson, or no, I really want to play Texas. Do you get that at all?
Not yet. I really haven't heard much of that. I think right now guys come out and it's just about the work. We'll go back to do a bit more individual in practice to hone our skills. You start out with a lot of that right in camp and in the first few weeks of practice. And as the season goes, it's less indie. You get into more team stuff, game planning as the season evolves, right? And you shorten your practices. It's now kind of back to, hey, let's get back. Let's work on some things, kind of, come back to some basics, if you will. And really, we had a good spirited, good against good practice and segments on Wednesday. And it was great energy and effort. And so I don't think that yet, because that game is to be determined. They're not there yet. Now, I think as we get closer today, tomorrow, you might start to hear that a little bit. But at the end of the day, these guys are going to line up and play whoever's in front of us.
Coach, with all this going on, when Kenny got here, it's ping pong. It's challenging him in basketball. Is any of that going on now?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, 100%. He hasn't changed, and we haven't changed what we've done. That's how we got here. And he puts a slide up every morning before he starts his team meeting. Be a good person. Our mantras. Activating the valley. Life. Smart, tough, team the ball. All of those things. And he hits on them, and then their guys are in there before the meeting shooting hoops. It's still not. Honestly, you wouldn't even know we're in the playoffs if you walked into our building. And I told you guys that last, or whatever it was, too, when we were getting ready for. You wouldn't even know we were playing for the Big 12 championship. And I just think that's a testament how it's about our process. And somebody's, and I can't remember who said this to me, and I need to. They were like, you guys are the biggest thing since the 96 Devils. And that kind of hit me like right between the eyes, because when you're living it, you don't necessarily know.
Yeah, you're in the fishbowl.
When 2-3 years from now, I step back, man, what a season, right? And I'll have such a great appreciation for it. But I came here, I just finished my junior year of college. I came out here, see family, Fiesta Bowl, do all the things that I normally did over the holidays. And I came down to Mill on New Year's Eve and hung out and had some fun.
Yeah. Good old days.
If I would have known you then, you'd have been right with me. Sure. But the passion and the excitement in the air on New Year's Eve for the Devils to play Ohio State the next day was at a tipping point. And so when I heard that, like, hey, man, you guys are like this is rare air. It's pretty cool.
Hey, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come right back with you. Charlie Ragle, Arizona State assistant head coach, Rocket Minuch with Jimmy B. Step B, Charlie Ragle joining us, getting ready for the Peach Bowl. Not sure who they're going to play, but we will find out here sooner than later. Sounds on good, Saturday. Yeah, it does. Why not? Yep.
Peach Bowl.
So when will you go in?
We're going to fly over there on the, the 29th.
Okay.
So I don't even know what the days are anymore. Yeah. But the 29th, we will travel over.
Okay. These guys got to be pumped.
They're excited.
Yeah. Do you have any say in your sideline gear? What you're going to be wearing and all that? Or is that all Kenny?
It's all a shoot. It's on the sponsors. Let's be honest.
Where's Hovek, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got our equipment guy down there stressed out. He's like, yeah, we got to redo it. Man, I feel so bad for those guys.
I got a question that it took place, and we discussed it earlier on the show, and we wanted to ask you, where a quarterback at Vandy got an extension.
Diego.
Diego. Yes, very good player. And he can continue to play another year. So they said that his 2 years of JUCO ball will not count. Well, how will that change everything?
And Troy, can I go retroactive for my 2 years of Mason Community?
Get in line. Everybody's getting in line, right? The funny thing is actually I know his whole backstory because I'm from New Mexico. Yeah. He's from New Mexico. Yes. So he started off in Albuquerque, right? That's where he went to high school, and went to New Mexico Military Institute, which is the junior college, right? And did his 2 years there, and then his lone scholarship was to New Mexico State. All of that happened in over the COVID period of time, so he had the extra year. So he got the extra year to take him to Vanderbilt, where he went with Coach Kill, and he gets the they're figuring this thing out, right? These guys are getting money. My opinion, he's not going to play football after college. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. So how can we prolong this?
Makes sense.
And this is where you get into, in my opinion, a real slippery slope, because you're paying young people, and I'm all for, and I've said it on the show, I'm all for as they play, getting paid and taken care of. We've got to figure out a system, though, guys, because when I'm going to come back to this, but all of a sudden these guys are making these six-figure incomes, and it's awesome. But if that ends at 22, 23 years old and they do not go to the NFL, we're expecting them to go back into the workforce and start out. Maybe when you came out of college, you got a job making 80 or 90,000. It was like, oh man, I hit it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so these, it's just right now, in my opinion, it's setting things up for not a great finish.
I was going to say, what's the end game you mentioned? Because I'd like to know how they ruled that the 2 years would not count. You weren't able to earn money, but the schools at the time, you weren't allowed to earn money at the time.
Correct.
So what supersedes what?
Yeah, and that's where, and when you read the fine print, right, it's only his single, and it's an injunction, right? They didn't rule that it's free and clear.
Carte blanche.
Yeah, it's an injunction, which means there's going to be a process depending on how the NCAA plays this thing out. But you and I both know, everybody else now that played junior college football in that time frame is now lining up to say, hey, I want my piece of the pie too, which is understandable. So the genie's out of the bottle, and I don't know how we get him back in. We're never going to get him back in. Let's be clear on that. But I see this going to somewhat of a model of the NFL.
It has to.
100%.
It has to.
I see player contracts.
You're going to see salary cap?
I believe so.
Per position?
I think it'll probably be like a team.
Okay.
And I think you're going to see the old school way of spring ball probably go by the wayside and go more to OTAs. This is just, again, all my opinion, but OTA type mentality of the NFL, because your rosters are reduced now from 120 to 105. I just think that's going to have a dramatic effect on it. It's going to be interesting. And then where does the school piece fall into this?
Good point.
Well, they're no longer student athletes.
No.
They're paid to play.
And you're doing this stuff with the portal and the time frames, but yet the school calendars don't match up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the part I don't understand. They can't figure that part out.
And that's where it's so.
How much of it, when you're on the road recruiting, because you're recruiting all the time, what would you say the percentages of a parent actually caring about his kid getting an education to his parent getting $1 million?
I'll tell you this, it's a lot less than it used to be. A lot less than it used to be.
That's unfortunate.
It is. And that's where I was going earlier and alluding to is, everybody, I get it. Everybody wants some money. I understand that. And, college football has been good to me. I'm not sitting here acting like it hasn't. And that's why I'm a proponent. I'm never going to be a hypocrite and say that they shouldn't earn, but we have to have it. I saw something Nick Saban said, like, hey, you know what? In coaches' contracts, there's buyouts. If you want to go to another university, there's language in there based on, certain things. Maybe if you're going to go be a head coach, they let you out certain things. But if you're trying to make a lateral move per se, there's a buyout that you got to pay the university. So if you sign a contract, you want to play here at Arizona State, for example, and then all of a sudden a year later, you want to go and play at, TCU, just been there big sure. There's a buyout in that thing.
Do you think that
I think that's good.
The way that Mike Lombardi's going to try to set stuff up at North Carolina might be a model for a lot of schools to follow? I mean, just kind of watch that from afar. If there's no gatekeeper from the NCAA, the way Lombardi and Bill Belichick set that up, because they want to set it up like you're talking about, that could be a model for a lot of schools.
It's coming. I have obviously, we had some really successful guys on the staff at Chaparral, and Dave Ziegler, who was the GM for the Raiders and is now doing consulting for the Saints, and still getting paid by the Raiders. So he's just doing some consulting work right now. I think Darren Muji, is his assistant GM for the Broncos, has a chance eventually to end up being a GM. I've got several other guys, but I talked to these guys, and that's where I think you're seeing the college. The model is moving that way, where they're trying to hire GMs, a la Lombardi, and set it up that way. And I think that again just leads to what I just said. It is going the way of the NFL to a lesser degree.
Don't you find it interesting now that when you were the head coach at Idaho State and then arrived at ASU, the different people that you now have on staff in charge of NIL, in charge of the portal, so that they can do a lot of that work and then funnel the information to you guys.
All those analysts.
Well, and I think, honestly, I think that was part of that was part of the reason why I chose to come here, because it makes it so hard when you play at those lower level schools, that that was so new, and it was kind of and it is evolving as we speak. But, when you lose a player like an Xavier Guillory to Arizona State, if I'm still at Idaho State, I have to replace that spot. But I am not replacing with equal or better value. I'm definitely replacing with lesser value. Because if he was as good or better than X, he's playing at Arizona State, USC, Utah, where fill in the blank, right? So you're constantly having to replace your best players, and you're replacing them with a lesser caliber of player. So, and if you're a team that's sitting at the bottom of the league and trying to build a program, and then resources come into play, monetary value, what can you do to flip things? It makes it certainly a challenge.
So with that going on, it's very difficult. I mean, the richer you get richer and the poorer you get poorer. That those super conferences are on the horizon closer, sooner rather than later, because you may have all those guys to that point that record will affect to the top 100 schools that can play for the playoff.
100%, that's where it's going. You know it, I know it, we all know it. You're going to have a league of, I don't know what that number is going to look like, and that's the elite of the elite, and this is what we're playing for. And then you're going to have everybody else. And over here, it's all relative. But these two kids aren't the same.
Coach, great stuff. Thank you for coming down here.
Appreciate you guys, as always.
Good luck. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Beach
Christmas.
Bowl, everything. We'll talk to you after that.
You guys are the best.
As always, appreciate you being part of the show. So
Yeah.
that's good stuff. That's Charlie Ragle joining us.